Hey, what's up guys? Mike Patrick, and really quick in this video, I want to talk about regurgitated information. I watched a video and there was someone who was a Christian, and they were pretty much like an evangelical Christian, okay? And this is not to, attack evangelical Christians or anything like that. I'm proving the point where evangelical Christians in general, all have pretty much the same beliefs, right? The same idea of who God is, you know what I mean? How the world came to be, how he created the world, and the history of the world and the agenda of God and how we should live and so on and so on. They all have pretty much the same beliefs. And how they learned their beliefs is someone had to start teaching them early on, right? Or at some point someone had to start teaching them what it is that they believe. And then usually over time you'll have people who believe in anything will begin to tell you they believe what they believe, not just because the fact that somebody taught it to them, but at some point they'll say they know it and they believe it in their heart, and that's why they believe what they believe. But originally it kind of begins with somebody having to teach you what you believe, you know what I mean? And then you I guess repeat what you learn so much until I guess you do start to feel like and believe what it is that you've been taught. All right. So now with that said, it's all regurgitated. When somebody teaches you something, it's because someone taught them something. A lot of times, very rarely at this point in human history is anybody the original source of anything, is my point. So we all kind of regurgitating information. Now, obviously what happens is people take information, and then once they learn it to a certain degree or to a certain point, they put it back out if they feel like they're called to be a teacher or a person that endorses and pushes whatever their belief is, right? Then they usually kind of remix it, put things into their own words. You know what I mean? Everybody has their own individual look and sound, and, if you're charismatic, you got your charisma. So it's different things that individuals can possess that makes their message, more lucrative. But at the end of the day, it's all kind of the same message, depending on what the message is. So for example, if you are a Christian and you go to church, you have probably hundreds of thousands of churches all across the country, right? And probably millions all across the world. And they're all different pastors, but the only thing that kind of make their messages different is they may use different analogies, different stories to corroborate, or support their messages and things like that. And they use different examples, but they're all under the same umbrella. So it's all kind of, the point is, it's all regurgitated. And I wanted to make this video because I wanted to just point out this perspective, because I didn't really like the whole way that the person was presenting themselves as far as trying to make people think, because this is not the only person that's done that. And people do it all the time when they're against certain information, whatever the information is. Some people will just try to come out and say, oh, this person is doing, or if they're against a certain person, if they see a person starting to get a certain amount of clout or a certain amount of following, and then that's when a lot of times people will come out the woodworks and start kind of hating on you and trying to justify why they don't like you or why other people shouldn't listen to you, and things like that, right? It's just kind of human nature, apparently. And so the thing is, guys, we all are regurgitating something, unless the Father, or we'll see what I'm saying, like, for what I'm saying, or for what I believe in, for what I know, the Father can inspire us, and he's the one who can give us original information need be. But most people are regurgitating things, guys, because at the same time, if somebody was to come with original information, like completely original information, nobody would believe them anyway, for the most part. You see what I'm saying? And then you'll be talking about how pseudo the person is. So it's always something. You see what I mean? It'll always be something. Then you'll be talking about how pseudo the person is, how there's no evidence or no research or nothing else that you can refer to validate what that person is saying, because it's completely original. There's nowhere to find this information other than through me. It's coming through me. But then that would be a problem. You see what I mean? So people try to take things. A lot of times people try to take information and try to piece it together and like you say, in their own way, once they can digest it and understand it and put it back out, regurgitate it in their own way. And that's the way it should be, because it's not about just coming out with original information just for the heck of it, just making something up, or, you know what I mean? You have to be inspired. You know what I mean? We all can sit back, and I ain't gonna say we all can do it, because a lot of people don't have vivid enough imaginations to even do that, to just make anything up. But, you know, it's not about just making something up and just saying, oh, look at the fact that I, you know, have the imagination or the ability or the brilliance to make up something, some original information or content. You see what I'm saying? Now, if for some reason, if it's from the highest perspective, what I call the Most High, if it's inspired from him, and it happens and it appears to be original because no one else may have heard it, and it just coming through you, then that's one thing. But it's more so about trying to just lead people in the right path, and with whatever the truth is, or the closest truth, or the closest thing to the truth, or the closest truth for somebody, because there's different dimensions to things, and people do have their own truths, and different things apply to different people. Everything doesn't apply to everybody in the same way. So, you know, a lot of times we do have to gather information, digest it, and then if it's our calling to be a speaker or a prophet or a communicator or a leader or whatever you want to call it, you know, then we might have to put it back out the best way that we can, with our charisma and our individual gifts and sauce, so to speak, and style and ways, and ways that the Father has made us an individual and blessed us, that may appeal to others, so they can get the information and get the inspiration. That's what it's about. You know what I mean? Because you have to have many people regurgitating some of the same information, based on the fact that everybody is not able to digest or comprehend information from everybody. You see what I mean? So if you just have one person that comes out with information, and then nobody else is allowed to, due to criticism, nobody else will be allowed to come out with the same information or teach the same information, then a lot of people might not get stuff. Because there's some people who might, the way I talk and the way I communicate, is some people who may need to hear certain things from me. I might explain certain things in a way that is perfect for them to be able to comprehend and understand. You see what I mean? But there's some people who, I'm sure, who don't understand anything that I'm talking about, who may think that I don't, you know, they just don't, due to their demographic or their background, maybe that, whatever your demographic is, you know, and all the things that entails the demographic, you see what I'm saying, of a person. For different reasons, they might not be able to understand my way of communicating. You see what I mean? So the Father inspires different people and leads different people to certain information, so they can be themselves while teaching other people in the way that they're supposed to do it. So we all kind of, I ain't saying we all kind of regurgitating the same information, but the point is, whatever the information is, there will be different people of different demographics regurgitating the same information, putting it into their own words, putting their own style, sauce, spin, sometimes spin, you know what I mean, depending on what the information is. Because sometimes we interpret things. That's a thing too. You know, people will say, you know, except, you know, it's regurgitated information, but they might change a few things or whatever, because that might be what needs to be done. You know what I mean? For the most part, the information that is being regurgitated may be the correct information for a certain group of people. You know what I mean? But it may be certain little small aspects of the information, you know what I mean, that the Most High might inspire that person. It might have been something new that the Most High inspired, you know, the person that they're that he has communicating. You see what I mean? He inspired them to tie something in or add something new. You know what I mean? Or to express a different angle of something, you know, to add on. You know what I mean? So you know, I think we, instead of discouraging each other about, you know what I mean, regurgitated information, always looking at things to criticize folks about. If somebody is trying to do something that's uplifting, it doesn't mean that people are perfect, but if it's something, the whole idea is to be a glass half full type of individual. Understand that we all gonna have flaws. None of us is gonna be perfect. And so if a person sets out to try to look for the criticisms and what they perceive as negative qualities in another person, then I guess you're gonna find it if you just that eager to do so. You know what I mean? But take what you can that's positive from the person, glass half full, understanding that person may not be completely perfect, you know what I mean, themselves, and they're on a journey and a path themselves, and they're here just like you know what I mean? And we all are on different points of our journey. So at different points of our journey, we may be able to help other people, you see what I mean, in some type of way, you know. And like I said, stop trying to discourage each other and look for criticisms, and instead try to galvanize each other, you know what I mean, and come together and get excited about how you can help other people, you know what I mean, with your message and your viewpoint and your ideas, and how it all can be relevant and it all can be considered, you know what I mean, to help advance us, you know what I mean, guys. So hopefully this was a good video, a good point of view on when you hear people criticizing other people about regurgitated information. You heard somebody else. A lot of times, like I said, people always just trying to turn you off from other people. So they'll say whatever they need to say, and as long as if they can say it confidently enough, you know what I mean. And if you always, and the thing is, you always gonna have an audience. You always gonna have people who are looking for negativity in other people. And so, but they might not want to say it themselves, so they look for other people to speak negatively about other people, and so then they can jump on a bandwagon. So it's always an audience for that too, you know what I mean. So, you know, if you see somebody buzzing or getting a certain following and things like that, you know, you might not, you know, you might have a little bit of jealousy in your heart and in your mind, but you're not the type of person that's going to get on the internet or something and call another person out. You see what I mean? Or you might not have no legitimate reason to call them out, but somebody else may find a reason to do it. Or they just might be a type of person that don't mind doing something like that. And then you go in support of them. So it's always an audience for it. I look at stuff like that but I like to look at, like I said, I'm a glass half full type of person. So I look at it and try to find a way to pick apart the person that's always criticizing somebody. Like, you're always critical of somebody. Let me see where you're coming from. So maybe now somebody can expose your tactics and your psyche and the angles that you take and the way that you're trying to attack people. But like I said, the average person might not recognize what's going on, and they just feed into it or fall into it or are easily influenced by it, just because it just may be your presentation. Because, you know, you got some people in life that they may be charismatic. They just might be the type of people that people have always tend to listen to, you know what I mean? Or they always tend to be the cool person or the point of view or the perspective that mattered, the relevant person. You see what I mean? And then, but those people can be haters too when they see competition. You see what I mean? Because if they used to being in the limelight, if they used to being the one that people listen to, or, you know, if they want to always have their perspective and their point of view and their ways of seeing things respected and want people to agree with them, you know what I mean? then that's what they'll do. A lot of times, you know, it becomes a competitive thing. They'll try to attack anybody else that's contrary to that, or they feel like threatens that. You know what I mean? So I like to look at those, study those type of people, so I can pick that apart. So once you expose those type of things, you get it out there, you know, you put it into the universe. And then, because a lot of times it takes time to put together these type of thoughts and really analyze somebody and then put it into words, especially this type of stuff, because you don't hear people talking like this that often. So I like to record it so I can go back and then I can get it to stick, so I can recognize it even more, and then I could become better in my communication. You know what I mean? At communicating it to other people, of like, you got to be wary of these tactics. You see what I'm saying? And then sometimes it's just to show that person themselves, because a lot of times people don't do things on purpose. It's just the world that we live in. It's a lot of people like this, so people pick up on each other's traits. You see what I'm saying? No matter how negative they may be. All right, hopefully this was a good video. Peace.